So Thor the Mountain Bjornsson wins World's Strongest Man 2018 in probably the most dominant performance in modern strongman history. The man has been on the podium 7 years in a row. He's 29 years old. Ever since he was 22, he has been on the podium at World's Strongest Man. It has basically just been a countdown clock until he was able to finally put it together. And he didn't just put it together at World's Strongest Man. The Mountain won the Arnold Strongman Classic, which is the heaviest show in all of strongman, and he won Europe's Strongest Man again to top it off with a third win, maybe like the Grand Slam of strongman with the World's Strongest Man competition. Is kind of the craziest year a strongman has probably ever had. The real question here is, why is it so fucking difficult to follow World's Strongest Man as a sporting event? Imagine if the CrossFit Games had a gag order on them. They took place in July or August, but you're not allowed to go. You can't go as a fan to watch. You're not allowed to talk about who competed, how, and what happened. The results are all unofficial, and then in December, CrossFit decides to release the CrossFit Games episodes and only show you the heats they want to show you with the winners of those heats. That's basically what it's like being a strongman fan right now. For the longest time, World's Strongest Man has basically been a holiday Christmas program in the UK. They held the competition in the summer or the late spring, and then they package up all of the competition into episodes that they air over Christmas. But we are no longer in that type of an era. It's 2018, live streaming is really common, and it is absurd that you can watch the bowling quarterfinals on ESPN 30, but you can't watch World's Strongest Man competition. Thor, he's the Mountain on Game of Thrones, one of the largest television series in the world, and on top of that, these competitors are doing things that are getting more and more popular. There are more people these days squatting, deadlifting, benching, carrying things. All of this is more reason why it's so absurd that you cannot watch these events live. It makes no fucking sense. Thank God, this year, the first year in a long time, they've actually not enforced their strict policy of silence. In previous years, no one was allowed to talk about what happened at World's Strongest Man. The competitors themselves, who make a living being competitors, were not allowed to tell their own fans or their own sponsors, hey look, I won World's Strongest Man. Let's talk about that contract, bro. Instead, they had to do silly things like Eddie Hall won World's Strongest Man last year and put up a post of himself standing in front of a brand new car that he bought. He says, I can't tell you how World's Strongest Man went, but I can tell you I'm pretty happy. And the license plate on the car said something like World's Strongest Man 2017. So it's a really absurd amount of like gymnastics that these athletes have to go through in order to meet some arbitrary, strange idea that the only way for people to watch this, the only way for people to consume World's Strongest Man is through these packaged shows. That's not a modern way of doing business. That's not how you grow a sport. That's not how you support your fans, the people who are showing up day in and day out talking about your sport. That's not how you do it. And the fans of our strength sport, the fans of strongman, they deserve better. Events like Europe's Strongest Man, they do great bringing in a lot of fans to watch. I mean, Colin with Giants Live has been crushing it. He puts on huge, very exciting events for things like Europe's Strongest Man or Britain's Strongest Man. The Giants Live events are incredible. They should be the format by which World's Strongest Man kind of puts themselves together, because it's absurd that in 2018 you cannot watch World's Strongest Man live. And honestly, huge props to people like Cale Beck starting strongman. He's out here, it's like 1 o'clock in the morning, he has a newborn in his hands, he's refreshing, you know, some like Philippines Bureau of Tourism Facebook page, hoping that they have some live stream off of a cell phone where he can catch one of the events to watch. He's communicating with his friends who are all the competitors, trying to figure out who's in the lead and what's going on, and he can still only offer unofficial results because this technically isn't a live sport yet. It's really silly, and that's the only way to describe it. I mean, these athletes are doing things that no human being has ever done before in the history of humanity, and yet we have to fucking wait to hear about it. At the end of the day, half Thor Bjornsson is the world's strongest man. He won the Arnold, he won Europe's strongest man, he won the world's strongest man. He's only 29, so he's not even into like the real fucking peak of being a strongman competitor. I mean, he's got years ahead of him that if he applies himself, he can still be dominant for years to come. And with the biggest win margin in modern strongman history, Thor didn't just say, hey guys, I'm the world's strongest man. He said, hey guys, I am the world's strongest man, motherfuckers. And if you disagree, I'll just crack your skull open like I did on Game of Thrones. Sup?